Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm gonna pin myself. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to see some friends, new friends and old friends. Hi, Sven. Hi, Sal. Hi, Delphine, Anu, Sarah.
Hi, Lara.
Okay, welcome. Yeah, we'll just give folks a couple minutes to come on in and settle in and arrive in this virtual but very real space. So I encourage you to check in with yourself and see if you're here. It's hard to be here sometimes, especially through the screen. So maybe notice where you're seated and if you're comfortable, yeah, maybe check in with your level of comfort. And if you feel like you are comfortable, how do you know that? What's telling you that inside? Yeah. Maybe you want to adjust for more comfort. What would you do? What would you do to make yourself a little more comfortable? Would it be adjust the screen to your eye level, or your placement in your seat, your lighting, are you warm enough? So we have a real habit in Western society to push past, not listen to, not really check in with our level of comfort, not give that much weight to its importance. But if we want to really make use of our time, just a couple moments of settling in and asking ourselves those questions and checking in with all the sensations and information our body is giving us is so valuable. So I hope you've been able to take a moment and check in and make any adjustments that feel right. And so I welcome you to be in choice today through this next hour together to continue to adjust if something doesn't feel right, and to take care of your needs as you see fit. So opening, closing the eyes, looking away from the screen for a moment to orient to your space, or doing whatever feels right, and throwing away anything I say that might not feel right, or adapting to listen more and more to yourself. Yeah. And so for those who maybe I haven't met, my name is Lara Land. I'm a yoga teacher trainer, and somatic embodied life coach. I teach specifically with a trauma sensitive lens. And so I train yoga teachers on trauma sensitivity, and privately I work with all sorts of people that just want to get healthier, be clearer, move past cycles, blocks, unhealthy habits, shift relationships, and feel more at ease, and bring into this world more of the love and peace and help and connectiveness that we all want. So those are some of the things I do. And for the last couple of months, I've been committed to giving a free workshop monthly. That's what I'm trying to do. So if you're here, that's why. That little commitment that I made. I'm going to try to do that. Let's see how long I can do it. If I have the energy and capacity, I always try to give with an open heart. So I want to make sure that I'm fully resourced, and I can really give with expecting nothing in return. And that's where I am right now. So I'm excited to share on this topic today of quieting the inner critic. I could see that a lot of people really resonated with the concept of the inner critic. I'm seeing some nods. Thank you. Delphine, I welcome anyone to be on or off camera, but it's certainly nice when I can get that feedback. Like, yes, I hear you. So I know who I'm talking to. Yeah, right. We have this inner critic. So some of us hear it more than others. Our inner critic can show up in a lot of different ways. It can look like self-help, self-improvement, which a lot of us who are drawn to workshops and to yoga, right? We want to make ourselves better. And we're going to take a look at some of the ways the inner critic shows up today and do a little bit of practice around it. I'm going to talk a little more than usual. I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to give a chance for folks to give feedback, observations, and be in conversation, right? Because I don't know everything. I don't even know a lot of things. I'm just in process of learning with you. So, quieting the inner critic. Here we go. So, here's what we're going to do. So, no surprises. I told you who I am. We're going to talk about how the inner critic shows up, why our inner critic shows up. Okay, it's really important before you're going to quiet our inner critic to get to know why that inner critic is there, and to understand, right, its purpose. Okay, because it has a purpose. And before we want to silence something that's serving us, we might want to get to know, why is it there? What's it trying to do? And in what ways can it serve us, right? And how it wants to be approached, right? So our inner critic is a part of us, right? And we have lots of different parts of us, which is something that I'm going to start to talk to you more and more about. And lots of different parts of us. Sometimes the different parts of us are not in alignment, right? And then we can feel really confused. We can feel really in dis-ease, right? Something wants one thing, something wants the other thing. And that's a lot of what shows up with the inner critic, because part of us did something or wanted to do something, and the other part is saying, no, that's wrong. You shouldn't have done that. You should have known better. And so you have these warring parts inside of us, and that feels awful, right? That feels really, really awful. And that's why we're here, right? We don't want that feeling, and we don't have to have that feeling. But this part, the inner critic, it's very shy, and it has to be approached in a gentle way, because it has feelings and desires and strong needs of us, not to mess up, right? I'll just stop share for a second. Our inner critic doesn't want us to mess up, right? It wants to protect us, right? It wants to take care of us, right? So it doesn't want to hear that it's not important. It wants to feel validated, right? So it's really important that we approach our inner critic with a bit of gentleness. So we're going to talk more about that. And we're going to practice together, and I'm going to ask you for how the practice felt. So I love those of you who feel up to it to share, and then I can help you more. So you kind of, those that want to share might even experience like a mini coaching session. So that's the bonus to sharing. And then I'll tell you how we can continue to work together if that's something you want to do, because this topic in particular, those of you who have come to the last few sessions that I've been offering, This is a topic where you need usually, spend a little more time than one session or 1 hour. But let's see what we can do in a short time together. Sometimes awareness can do a lot. So how does our inner critic show up? I mentioned some of this already. It shows up as self-improvement, right? Maybe your inner critic says something like, "You're so lazy. Why can't you just get up and do your practice? Why can't you just do this or do that?" Right? We're so conditioned for doing. Conditioned for doing more means often we get this told that doing more, accomplishing more, right? If someone asks you, did you have a good day? Yeah, I got a ton done, right? Our inner critic might say something like, stop being so selfish. Sometimes if we do something for ourselves, right? We're not being giving enough, especially female identifying folks might be conditioned to be selfless, be giving more. You have no idea what you're talking about. So doubting our knowledge, right? That imposter syndrome, questioning what we know, right? Questioning ourselves, questioning our intuition, questioning our gut feelings, questioning our knowledge. Our inner critic sometimes says things like, you'll never measure up, you'll never be good enough. Almost saying like, why keep trying, right? I never get it right. Tells us we're not capable, that others know better. It's a voice of comparison. And it might even say something like, so inner critic can show up sometime in kind of a sneaky way. So it might say something like, that's just my perfectionism speaking, right? Which looks like, oh, I'm not in my inner critic right now, because I'm noticing my inner critic. I'm noticing, but an inner critic, but a noticing or a being in presence when we're fully whole and all our parts are welcome and we're in presence, would never call part of ourselves like, oh, that's your imperfection, that's your perfectionism, or that's your this. It would hold like, oh, that's the part of me that wants to do well, that wants to please people, and it would see it in a softer way. So sometimes I wanted to put that in there just to show you, like, sometimes it's not so obvious which voices are inner critic parts. So you might have recognized some of these. You might have some more that you can add to the list. And it kind of like, as I'm saying them, like I'm feeling in my body, like, ow, like it hurts. It hurts to hear that. But it's helpful to start to know and recognize some of the regular repeating statements of our inner voice or inner critic. We usually have certain ones that come up for us, and it could be different for different people. So you might just notice, oh, that's one I say to myself a lot. And awareness, right, is like 90%, just becoming aware. Now, when we become aware of that voice, remember what I said earlier, we don't want to say like, oh, that's my inner critic, that's wrong, I shouldn't be doing that inner critic thing, which is probably what most of us do, and why we wanted to come take a class to figure out what else I can do, because you might have noticed that yelling at your inner critic does not seem to make it go away, right? Many of us feel like our inner critic, if we don't have it, I know so many folks that I work with feel like this at the beginning, like if I didn't have my inner critic, I would not try. I would not work hard. I would not do the right thing. So that's a kind of base question that we could be asking ourselves. Like, is it really true? Like, is it really true that I wouldn't try my best if I didn't have that an inner critic, or that sometimes it's that parent voice or that teacher voice, right? Is it really true that I can't do my best, feel what feels best and right in my body? And um, we started that at the beginning of the class because I wanted you to sense into what feels right, what feels right, not just up here, but here in my gut, in my heart, um, in my energy field, and in my relationships. So, is it really true that yelling at myself um, causes me to do better? It's just a question. Maybe it, maybe it has its place, but it's worth asking, right? Um, so here's some ways that we see um, inner critic kind of showing up in our bodies, right? So everything with me is going to be from an embodied approach, right? So you might not even really know, like the inner critic might not be talking to you, so it might not be those voices that we just went through, but it might be a feeling, right? Maybe after a while of just being so hard on yourself, um, the inner critic, your body is just in a kind of collapse. You just feel beat down, right? You just feel bad inside. Um, and again, the reason that I want to go through this, and I really want to talk a little more today, is to get more aware, because like I said, we might not know why we feel that way. Just a feeling of kind of embarrassed, kind of low, kind of wanting to hide, um, and sometimes this feeling can come on kind of out of the blue, not necessarily like a sequence of events, right? We just don't know why. We just feel kind of beat down, and that can happen from over um, magnification of our inner critic. Um, Sometimes we're in agreement with our inner critic, like, yeah, that critic is right. Um, and it has a similar impact in our body and in our feeling, like that really stomach feeling and low feeling, and but it's with more awareness. So, you know what? You're right. You are lazy. And it's kind of like a giving up. Sometimes we might argue with our inner critic. Um, and so your inner critic saying, you're so dumb. You always do this. You always do that. And instead we have this other voice that's saying, no, you're not dumb, right? So we kind of argue with our inner critic. And, sometimes this shows up in our life, like we're going to get you first. So like before you can attack me, I'm going to be ahead of it. So sometimes just noticing, like, do I have a little bit of like a chip on my shoulder? Like, am I kind of like defending? And again, it's not a judgment thing. So something to notice. If I click into that defensiveness really quickly, if I attack before being attacked, and sometimes this can feel good. I can definitely relate to this sometimes. It can feel good. Like it's like I'd rather feel this energy of being on top of it than feeling in collapse. Another thing that's just so great in building awareness, like we all have these parts of us in us, right? So the more we can recognize them in ourselves and come to befriend them, right? This is in me, right? I don't have to act on it. I don't have to hate it. It's a part of me. There are reasons, and we're gonna see that, and we can also see that in others, right? So you see that person who's like kind of chip on the shoulder, and you might see past it, right? You might see someone who maybe inside doesn't feel great about themselves, right? And you might just have that moment of like, oh, now I know how to identify that. And then maybe I might approach that differently, right? If I could just recognize that, the humanity in that person, right? And just maybe they're suffering. So that really helps in how we might approach that person. And these are the kind of things I feel can really heal relationships and heal communities, and hopefully just keep getting us in a better world. Sometimes, yeah, we do that. Sometimes we might try to ignore our inner critic. Look, we all try to ignore uncomfortable feelings. We can stop uncomfortable feelings by watching TV, going out with friends, going for a drink, workaholic, shopping, and many activities, positive activities, working out, just getting out our feelings. And it doesn't mean that every time we watch TV or every time we go out with friends, we're avoiding something. But it is just, again, like a great thing to be aware of. And so we can ask ourselves, am I avoiding something uncomfortable right now? Is there something going on that I'm trying to numb? And sometimes these are self-regulatory practices, right? That regulate our nervous system, right? Just like right now, and I'm just like rocking my chest. That's like regulating my nervous system. So other things that can regulate our nervous system are being with someone, being with a companion whose nervous system is regulated, or sharing something that happened to us during the day, right? You had a rough day, you want to share. So sharing with someone. And we can regulate on our own. We can regulate with another person. And we can regulate sometimes by zoning out, by watching a little bit of Netflix, which is fine. Just like the awareness. It's all about the awareness. And that's really key. And sometimes our inner critic shows up as attacking ourselves. Like, I'm so angry at myself. Why do I keep sabotaging myself? And all of these things, all of these times, this thing we call the inner critic, or in a question, if it's a critic, but what is it trying to do? It's really trying to control our behavior, right? Critic or controller. It's trying to control our behavior, stop us from doing something that it thinks will not be good for us, right? Or make us do something that it thinks would be good for us. It's trying to help us to do better, to control our behavior. And anything that's trying to control us inside us is actually, it's trying to protect us, right? And when we see something inside us, I'm not talking about someone outside us that's trying to control us. It's something inside us that's trying to stop us doing something. It's trying to protect us, right? And it actually needs and deserves to be heard, because the reason that critic gets louder and louder, right? Because I always like to stay on topic of quieting that inner critic. Why is it getting louder and louder? Because it feels like we're not really hearing it, right? What is it afraid of? It's afraid of something. It's afraid. It wants to protect us. What will happen if we do stay in bed? If we do take a day off? Yeah. So how to approach the inner critic? I'm gonna go through this, and then we're gonna do some practice. This is a lot of information. I'm gonna just fly through with you. This is nothing that you need to memorize right now. This is what I'm gonna do with you in practice in a couple of minutes. But I'm just giving you some knowledge before we do it, because this is a lot of new stuff that most folks haven't really worked with before. So whatever part in us that doesn't feel that we're compassionate toward it, understanding toward it, that we're giving it a chance to be heard. It wants to be heard. So we just want to show up with presence, like, you know what? I hear you. I'm gonna just sit with you right now. So I'm gonna sit with that part that's saying I don't know enough about this topic to teach on it, right? And I'm just gonna sit with it. I don't actually have to fight against it or have another part talk to it. I can just be with it. Like, you're feeling like you don't really know enough to teach that. Okay. Well, I might feel into, like, how does that feel? Yeah, it feels really scary. It feels like on a limb, right? It feels like, and how do I see that? Maybe I see an image in my body of just like a little scared kid, or maybe I see a color, a light. Some people get words, some people see more in an image. So I might just sit with whatever I'm sensing, and just be with it. Say hello to it, and ask it what it wants to tell me, and see if I'm getting it right. Um, am I hearing you? And is this what you were meaning to say? And sometimes we don't get it right at first, so we want to reword it and really try to feel into, no, like, oh, that vibration, that tension there, it's trying to tell me that, you're not ready. Oh, no, it's not saying that. It's saying that you're ready, but you're missing one little part, so we want to get closer and closer, and each time we try to give it a voice, we can get closer to what it's really saying. No, it's really saying, oh, it just wants you to take more of a breath before you start. Okay. So what it's saying can change and morph, and it's really beautiful. So we can sense how that critic wants us to be with it. What does it want from us? We can start to say, what do you need from me to be with you, critic? A little part of me. How do you want to be heard? We're going to try to feel it in the body. Some people are really good at that. Some people can tap into sensation in the body really easily. For some people, it's a little abstract. So you just see what you feel. It could be outside the body. It could be you start to like move. I'm feeling here. I'm feeling there. It could be an image. It could be words. So, and if you feel nothing, that's okay too. Then, like, what does that feel like? Okay. All of it is approached with curiosity. And we're going to try to sense into its point of view. So, like, how it's feeling, and letting it know that we hear it, and then coming back after we have listened to it to how we feel now. And we're going to sense into, let me stop this for a minute. We're going to sense into if there's two parts. I mean, like I said earlier, we have many, many parts of us. We're going to sense into, like, if there's kind of two parts, like one critical part, one saying don't be critical, or I can do this, like, into both, and giving them both their due time separately, and letting them both know that we can hold both at the same time. And by doing so, we're going to really breathe into capacity for feeling many things at once, holding different things at once. Especially quietly holding for parts of us that we push away. Maybe we're scared to, we don't think that we should be allowed to experience, like, a murderous part, a jealous part, that we try to push away. And they have a way of, because we feel like from society, like, we shouldn't feel that way. We should be more evolved. We should know better, right? what happens is all of that judgment on those parts within us actually causes them to fester more. So everything we're doing to be better, to self-improve, can be actually working against us. So we're going to try a different approach. So that was a lot of information, just because the practice that we're going to do is, and doing this is different from probably what many of you have experienced before. Maybe some of you have. I wanted to give you a lot of background on kind of what we're going to do, and we're going to go into a practice. Before we go into practice, I want to open up for any questions, confusions. Anyone want to share? Yeah, that they get it or they don't get it. They have this experience.
It sounds like, Laura, it sounds like you're asking us to use empathy to identify with our inner critic and sort of spend time getting to know it. It takes some empathy for that.
Yeah, and curiosity. And because we might not know. See, it might have something to tell us that we don't know, something deeper that it's protecting us from. Can be some fear that we don't know, because usually that inner critic is that thing that it's protecting is very shy. It's very afraid to be seen. What's really going on? There might maybe because there's sadness, or like you said, because it goes against some social norms. So it's trying to protect us. Yeah, we're going to do it in practice, going to make more sense. Definitely empathy, but also trying to, yeah, I mean, empathy is the word for trying to feel what it feels, feeling what it feels. So that's the right word for that. Yeah. Anyone else? I collapsed and I didn't understand why. I concluded my whispering inner critic judged my mistake and caused a collapse. And sometimes if it's really intense, it can be a collapse, a disassociation. Thank you for sharing that. Let's try a little in practice, and we'll see if it makes more sense then. So just want to reiterate that this is a pretty powerful work. It's touching on maybe some voices inside that have been with us for our lives, maybe some parts of us that may not feel safe to come out. If they don't, that's fine. Then it's not a safe time for them to come out. If anything feels that I say doesn't feel right to you, please remember your autonomy here. So just open the eyes, rock back and forth, look at the room, ground yourself, and take care of yourself, because I'm only through a screen with a group. It's not the same as working one-on-one, right? Okay, with that said, I'm just going to invite you again to settle in. You may want your eyes open, or you may find that closing the eyes allows you to tune in. My eyes are mainly going to be closed, so if your eyes are open, you will see my eyes are closed. Okay. So just taking a moment to feel into this moment, this body here. connecting with the sensations, feeling the body, especially as it takes support from the surfaces below you, the floor, the chair. Feeling into your pelvic bowl and seeing if you can sense into or relax into the pelvic bowl. And sensing into the outer layer of your body, the skin, the front shape, the top, and the back, and perhaps tracing the length of your spine from the tailbone up. And then taking a moment to come inward, sensing inside the body, inside the throat, the chest, and the tummy. Noticing sensations inside the body. And as you bring to mind your inner critic, see if you can feel where that shows up for you in your body. Just bringing to mind the inner critic. And feeling into any sensations. You might get an image. You might hear some words. And with whatever comes up, see if you can sit beside it. Say hello to it. And say, I hear you. And if you've been able to make contact, noticing, feeling into, as you sit beside it, anything that shifts. Don't try to make anything change. If nothing's coming up, the critic might be feeling shy. Just keep staying in presence with an openness to experience or feel. And if you're with your inner critic, you might ask it what it wants to let you know. it trying to let you know? This feeling into if you can feel from its point of view. Just keep trying to be with, I hear you. If any other parts come up, there are other voices. You might not quite get that there are other parts, but you might hear another voice saying, yeah, but something. Don't push it away. Let it know. Oh, okay, there's something else. It's another part. I'm going to give you some time in a minute as well, because what you have to say is important. Just come back to be with the inner critic and its point of view. Letting you know how it feels. What it doesn't want to happen. What it doesn't want to happen. And see if you can feel into that, receiving sensations, images. How does it feel in the body? Imagining what would happen if that thing it doesn't want to happen happens. As you continue to break down the layers, just as much as possible staying in presence, getting it, I get it. If something's not making sense or things aren't shifting or opening, just be with what's ever here in the body. Let's keep noticing if anything is shifted. And keep going back and asking it if there's something more it wants to show you, tell you with an image or a sensation. Those of you who may have had another part show up, something that said, yeah, but you may want to tell the inner critic part that you'll come back to it and spend a little time with that other part, sensing from its point of view. What's that part saying? What does it want from me? Always going back to sense in the body how things might have shifted. and you feel you might be ready, if it's resonating, you might hold the whole of all the parts, just holding them together in presence. So being with part that doesn't want me to take that risk, part that's worried if I don't take any risks, I'm not going to get anywhere. Not trying to solve an external question, trying to hold capacity for different feelings and different truths. Seeing how they all want to care for me. You might check in now if there's anything else that either of these parts wants to share with you. And let them know that you're willing to come back to this work if you are. And if you've experienced any release or ease, or any feelings of resolve, you might want to notice them, kind of body map them to come back to. Even unresolved part that also wants you to come back to it, you can map that as well. Like, I know where to find you now. Just giving gratitude to this body for all it showed us today, all the things it can show us, and for showing up. And as you're able, you may want to open the eyes if they've been closed. And just take a minute to orient yourself by looking around the room, turning the neck. Just seeing where in space you are. And if you feel like you can, coming back into our joint space here together. Thank you, Delphine. Yeah, so I would love if anyone feels open to it, to hear any experiences, questions. There's nothing right or wrong, so any shares are greatly appreciated.
Hi.
Hi, is it Giannina?
Janina, yes. Hi, Lara.
Beautiful.
Hi,
Welcome.
everyone. Well, I think my inner critic came in a lot of thinking, a lot of thoughts. You were talking, my mind was in everywhere.
Yeah.
And my heart started pumping, and it's because I'm afraid to be judged when I talk, and it was my thinking was saying, okay, you have to talk after that. So what are you going to say? So people is going to laugh at you or something like that. So my hands right now are sweating while
Yeah,
I
your
talk.
heart is beating. Your heart is beating. Your hands are sweating.
Yes.
And yeah, and you're with that, and you're here.
Yes, but after a while, after keep on listen to you, my heart start calming. So I felt really relief.
So when we started the exercise, you felt this nervousness because you felt
Yes.
a part of you saying, you're going to have to share after this.
Yes.
Even though it's not required.
Yeah.
That part says, oh, so I have to make sure something happens here. And then,
Yes.
and then what happened? Just listening to that part, it shifted.
Yes, and then I was trying to understand my body, how to talk to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I maybe had to do it more so I can understand my body.
Yeah.
So yes, I think that I had to do that.
Yeah. The more that we do this, definitely, the more your body will tell you, and you get in a relationship with what
Yeah.
those signals are. Like, what's that telling you? What is that heart racing want to tell you, right? It was okay. I'm nervous, right? What? And then I'm just gonna be with that thumping, be with that nervousness. What? Just sitting by it and experiencing it. And what is it afraid of, right? That that my thoughts are silly, that my that yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I think that comes from my childhood, and
Mhm.
that afraid of being judged.
Mhm. Yeah, it's afraid of being judged. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's afraid that if people judge it, it won't get to come out again.
Yeah.
Mhm. How are you feeling as you hear that?
I feel like I'm carrying something on my shoulders right now.
Mm-hmm. You're feeling something on your shoulders.
Yeah.
What does it feel like?
Like something pushing me
Mm.
down.
Mm-hmm. You're sensing something in your shoulders that's pushing you down. Yeah, what happens if you just say, hi, I see you?
It's just right now I'm feeling better since I'm talking about it.
Yeah. And you're sensing that things have shifted.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for letting us work together, being so brave to share your voice. Mm. Yeah, sounds beautiful. You're getting some love from the room. Yeah, some hearts. Anyone else feel open to sharing? If you want to tell me that the exercise was crap, that's okay. I'd love to hear from maybe at least one more person. Or if you don't want to share your exercise, just any If anything has struck you about this course, or anything it brought up, or any questions. Yeah, Delphine.
I think it's actually a very good exercise because sharing with the group, I mean, doing it as a group practice shows us that everybody has their inner voice. And, you know, some people may think, sometimes I think, well, then nobody else has that inner voice. But
Yeah.
actually, everybody does have an
Mhm.
inner voice, you know, intervening in their life from,
Yeah.
you know, once in a lifetime, you know, at least once in their life. So just the group practice is an acknowledgement that everybody experiences that, you know, and then, you know, the effects are different, you know, with each person, and it comes in a different way, and it comes at different, you know, it comes more often for some people than others. But I think what matters is to realize that everybody experiences that actually.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. It is something nice about discussing this topic in a group. And that part of us that says you're the only one who feels that way is another part to be with, to sit with, and to ask from its perspective. So we can just separate and be with these different voices or parts, and they all deserve and need their own separate time. So I think we often think we're going to solve this by having this little discussion in our brain, right? There was once a sitcom where they had that. It was something's head. All the voices are talking, and it doesn't really resolve that way, because it's not going to come to one is gone, all are gone, and one is left. They all have their place. So it's going to be more about how we can hold all of it quiet and give our different voices, our different parts, and our different feelings a place. And that's about presence building, capacity building. So like I said, this is kind of a deeper work than we've done, but kind of built a little bit off our last session, harm and healing, with some of the somatics and parts work. We have about 2 more minutes, and I like to be really kind and good with our time. I just want to share a little bit about, you know, if you want to work a little more together on this or any other, I do coaching, and if there's anything you're trying to work on, we can do this more one-on-one together. Here's some client love. You can see that also on my website. But I've worked with lots of folks to help them in relationship and career. And I offer lots of free resources, especially on my Instagram, Lara Lands Yoga. I am going to share some links here. I have a new podcast starting where I'm also sharing a lot of tips and coaching. I'm very excited about this new project. It's coming out next month, but it's already up if you want to subscribe. My website, these two websites are going to be merging soon, but landyoga.com and laraland.us, where you can see about having a free consultation and doing some ongoing coaching or yoga training, or sometimes I combine yoga and talk and all those things. And if you thought this session was very valuable and you have a couple dollars to spare and you want to make a dana. Dana is, a kind of when you receive a teaching, giving an offering. I have this little buy me a coffee page. Like I said, it's not required. I do these workshops when I have enough capacity and energy and wholeness, but it's appreciated. Are there any other questions or any questions about how to stay in touch or anything? I hope this was helpful. I really, really hope that you got a couple tools here to work on this. Inner critic is one of the more challenging topics, so I really hope that you take something with you. And I hope to see you on one of the platforms in the future. Wonderful. Have a
Thank you.
beautiful day. Take it into the world. We
Thank you so
understand each
much.
other. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.